It's the show that just keeps on keeping on, just like that little bunny. Oh, that little bunny. How you doing, friend? Did I throw you for a loop?
Kemosabe.
Oh, yeah.
Me learned new word yesterday.
I gotcha.
We friend.
Yeah, faithful friend.
I know, good,
It
real good.
was either faithful friend or wet bush. I could never think the translation is a little tricky.
Depends whether you're standing in front of it or not, I
That
guess.
could be, Ralph.
That's
Could be. Ill-Gotten Gain. That's
Yes,
one
sir.
of your book. Was that your first book?
That's my first novel.
Now, wait a minute. We've got to bring him on again, just like we would any other day, because this guy's
Oh,
a
okay,
Renaissance
okay,
man.
okay. I'll
Well, the
pretend
reason
like
I
I
say
don't
that,
know him, yeah.
he's got so many books that it's taken us a whole week to talk about his books
Because he's
and
got
stuff.
book after book after book.
The Renaissance man, I'm telling you.
Watch this, Ralph. Watch
All right.
this. It's like you wrote this.
Okay.
Of course, it'll be grammatically incorrect because I know how you are. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us on today's broadcast is an accomplished author, advertising magnate, and broadcast journalist extraordinaire. He's also a huge baseball fan, which is for another day and another time. Please welcome to the show, Ralph Jarrells, everyone.
Hey.
A little bit better.
Yeah, there you go, buddy.
Much better.
Much
Thank you.
better.
Thank you.
That's
Thank you.
my part there, right
Thank
there.
you,
like
Jack.
that
Your
right there?
points.
Yeah, right off the
That's
cuff.
good.
Well, Ill-Gotten Gain.
I couldn't have written it any better.
You
by the
could
way.
have.
Yeah, you could have.
You could have, because I've read some of your stuff. Not all of it, just scratching the surface. I got to spend some time in the next few weeks or so to really get into these books. Once I get into like that first or second chapter, then I don't stop. It's like
Good.
a little train that could. I love the premise of this because we've had you on a previous broadcast. Jesus was betrayed, 30 pieces of silver.
Right.
And you come at this whole thing from whatever happened to the 30 pieces of silver. Because
Correct.
It's like Judas didn't want to have anything to do with them afterwards, right?
No, he didn't. He threw him into the synagogue.
Yeah.
And so he obviously felt they were cursed, so he got rid of them. The premise actually began as a teenager. I grew up in the Baptist church, and the Bible is a valuable tool in expressing what the whole idea of Christianity is, but there are big holes in it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so for me, looking at religious fiction, the Bible sits about the skeleton of a story, and then I can then put the flesh on it the way I want to. So that becomes religious fiction. And so that's the story, and how this got started is, as a teenager, I wondered what happened to those coins. They were obviously the most important of the talisman of the Christian religion.
Mm-hmm.
Without Judas betraying Christ for 30 pieces of silver, we wouldn't have a Christian church.
Sure.
So it's that important, and yet we don't know what happened to them.
Yeah, we hear about the Shroud of Turin all the time.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I was getting ready to say it.
What happened to the coins?
So what
Did that bear on your mind all these years until you decided to write the book? I mean, you always thought like that, huh?
I felt like that until that would be from my teenage years to early 30s. That was floating around in there along with all the other minutiae.
Well, did you ever bring it up with?
I asked people about it and pretty well got, what. They
Same
just,
answer. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. even with preachers, you ask questions like that, and they're educated, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, sure.
But they don't have an answer for that because there wasn't one. So, anyway, so I figured out, well, we'll take the coins and do a time and space movement that is historically correct in some places. Like, for instance, one of the people that I have having the coins is Pope Alexander VI, whose name is Rodrigo Borgia.
Oh my goodness gracious!
And he was a pope.
He was. Do you know who he is? He was quite the colorful pope.
Oh, yeah?
His
How many wives did he have?
Well, he was one that actually brought prostitutes into the Vatican.
So he had the money. He got it from Judas.
Yeah,
Could have. That's interesting.
Yeah.
but there's Rodrigo's. Let's see, Cesare Borgia is his son, and Lucretia Borgia, which is the one with the most history, is his daughter. But anyway, he died choking on food.
Right.
All right, so that's historically correct. So what I did was said, okay, each of the people that have the coins are cursed, and they're cursed so that you die in the way Judas did. So not that they all hang, but they all die by some form of asphyxiation. So it just worked out that Alexander VI died choking on food.
Wow.
This is genius.
So that married up to one of the people who had the coins. Then I had to get it from the Vatican to Charleston because that's where the story takes place. So I said, okay, we'll take the box and we'll fill it with treasure and give it to a young priest and have him go to set up a church in the New World. So he gets over to the Caribbean, and the famous pirate Stede Bonnet, known as Gentleman Pirate, captures the ship, ends up taking the coins to Charleston, and interestingly enough, he was hanged, one of those two, at low waters mark at White Point Garden, which is the Battery. So it was convenient that he was hanged. We had the young priest drown. So it just all sort of worked around.
That's a movie.
It allowed.
That's a great movie, right
I
there.
certainly hope so.
Wouldn't that be great? I mean,
Yeah.
that is.
It
It'll
would be a
gain
great-
even the
I
title.
certainly
That would be
hope
a
so.
great movie.
But it allowed me to bring in some other things that I knew of from Charleston, and I lived in Beaufort for a short while, and I knew the sheriff that had been sheriff for 32 years, and he was a white witch doctor. He introduced me to Dr. Eagle, who was a functioning witch doctor in Beaufort, or root doctor.
So you guys sit around and go, ooh, ee, ooh, ah, ah, bing, bang, follow up. Y'all ever do that?
No,
Make
we don't do
s'mores?
that.
Okay.
But anyway, we were able to bring that into the story,
Yeah.
and
Sorry.
doing
let's
his
get
best
into
to get me off it.
You've turned this into a comedy movie. I thought it would be a good drama.
Just a
I
little
thought it'd be
lighthearted
suspense or a
there.
mystery.
Yeah.
You're a sick
well,
man, Jack. And
anyway.
I like that. I like that, Jack.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the way it is. An antique dealer ends up with the coins, and this is the story of how the track of the coins and this guy's own problems get together, and it's a mystery.
I mean, yeah, it's great. I love it.
That is really, really, really cool.
Publisher that I submitted it to, I had heard all these horror stories about dealing with publishers.
Mm-hmm.
That you write a book, you spend months writing the book, years writing the book in my case, and you send it to send a letter and whatever they want to a publisher. They sit on it for 6 months and send you an email back saying they're not interested.
Right.
And I
right.
hear that's more the common rather than the uncommon. So I finally decided I was going to do it regardless. Finished all of the material to send to the publisher at Saturday evening. So I sent it off to him, and Sybil and I were in church, and I got my phone vibrated, let me know there was an email, and got out of church, and there was a email saying, I like the idea of the book, can you send me the full manuscript? And that wasn't even 24 hours.
Sure.
Sent him the manuscript, he read it, he said...
Now, being a good Baptist, did you wait till Monday? Okay, I just throwing.
He's not a good Baptist.
Now,
now.
being a good Baptist, I went right ahead and sent it.
I'm just messing with you
Just
there.
set him up.
I mean, he's got to deal about the 30
But anyway,
pieces of silver, and he's replying on a Sunday. I'd wait till Monday, man. Keep
The
it
guy's
holy.
name was Judas. Gave him the
Keep it
text.
holy.
But anyway, the guy said, I can't do it unless you make some changes. So I did. I said I'd make the changes, and that's the proof in the pudding.
I love it right there. Ill-gotten gain.
I mean,
sir.
it's a
Available at
great
Barnes &
title.
Noble and Amazon.
Yeah.
All right, Ralph, thanks.
Thank you.
He's written more books, and we'll talk about them, each and every
Right.
one. And we'll also do a paint by numbers thing coming up in 2 days with him as well. All right. And make s'mores. Check this video out from
Some
our
more
good friends. Some more what? Here from the Oaks.